Analysis of phenomena. The order of phenomena are defined for us firstly by the method by which we apprehend them, and secondly by the form of transition of one order of phenomenon into another. According to our method of apprehending them, and by the form of their transition into one another, we discern three orders of phenomena. Physical phenomena, i.e. all phenomena studied by physics and chemistry. Phenomena of life, all phenomena studied by biology and its subdivisions. Psychic phenomena, all thoughts, feelings and sensations. We know physical phenomena by means of our sense organs or with the aid of apparatus. Any recognized physical phenomena are not observed directly, and are merely projections of the assumed causes of our sensations or those of the causes of other phenomena. Physics recognizes the existence of many phenomena that have never been observed by the sense organs, or by means of any apparatus, the temperature of absolute zero for example. The phenomena of life as such are not observed directly, and we cannot project them as the cause of definite sensations. However, certain groups of sensations force us to assume in certain groups of physical phenomena, the phenomena of life. It may be said that a certain grouping of physical phenomena forces us to assume the presence of the phenomena of life. We define the cause of the phenomena of life as of something, not capable of being grasped by the senses or by any apparatus, incommensurable with the causes of physical sensations. A sign of the presence of the phenomena of life consists in the power of organisms to reproduce themselves, i.e. the multiplication of them, in the same forms, the indivisibility of separate units and their special adaptability which is not observed outside of life. Psychic phenomena are the feelings and thoughts that we know in ourselves by direct sensation. We assume their existence in others, 1. From analogy with ourselves, 2. From their manifestation in actions, and 3. From that which we gather by the aid of speech. However, as has been shown by certain philosophical theories, it is impossible to establish objectively the presence of consciousness other than our own. An individual establishes this usually because of their inner assurance of its truth. Physical phenomena transform themselves into one another completely. It is possible to transform heat into light, pressure into motion, etc. It is possible to produce any physical phenomenon from other physical phenomenon. It is possible to produce any chemical combination by the synthetic method, combining composite parts in proper proportions and under the correct or appropriate physical conditions. Modern physics assumes electromagnetic phenomena as the basis of all physical phenomena. However, physical phenomena do not transform themselves into the phenomena of life. By no combination of physical conditions can science create life, just as by chemical synthesis it cannot create living matter or protoplasm. We can tell what amount of coal is necessary to generate the amount of heat required to transform a given quantity of ice into water. However, we cannot tell what amount of coal is necessary to create the vital energy with which one living cell forms another living cell. In similar manner, physical, chemical and mechanical phenomena cannot themselves produce the phenomena of consciousness, i.e. of thought. Artificial intelligence still is and will always be programmed intelligence. Were it otherwise, then a rotating wheel, after the expenditure of a certain amount of energy or after the lapse of a certain time, would generate an idea. Yet we know that the wheel can go on rotating for 1,000,000 years and no single idea will be produced by it at all. Thus we see that the phenomena of motion differ in a fundamental way from the phenomena of life and of consciousness. The phenomena of life change into other phenomena of life, multiply infinitely and transform themselves into physical phenomena, generating whole series of mechanical and chemical combinations. The phenomena of life manifest themselves to us in physical phenomena and in the existence of such phenomena. Psychic phenomena are sensed directly and having enormous potential force, transform themselves into physical phenomena and into manifestations of life. We know that at the basis of our procreative force lies desire, that is a physical state or a phenomenon of consciousness. Desire is possessed of enormous potential force. Out of the united desire of a man and a woman a whole nation may come into being. At the root of the active, constructive, creative force of man that can change the course of rivers, unite oceans, cut through mountains or fly to the stars lies desire, i.e. again a physical state or a phenomenon of consciousness. Thus psychic phenomena possess even greater unifying force with relation to physical phenomena than do the phenomena of life. Positivist philosophy affirms that all three orders of phenomena proceed from one cause, lying within the sphere of the study of physics. This case is called by different names at different times, but it is assumed to be identical with physical energy in general. Seriously analyzing such an affirmation, it is easily seen to be arbitrary and not founded upon anything. Physical phenomena of themselves, inside the limits of our existence and observation, never create the phenomena of life, and the phenomena of consciousness. Consequently, we may with greater correctness assume that in the phenomenon of life, and in the phenomenon of consciousness, there is something that does not exist in physical phenomenon. Furthermore, we cannot measure physical, biological and psychic phenomena by the same unit of measure. More correctly, we cannot measure the phenomena of life, and the phenomena of consciousness at all. It is only the phenomena first mentioned, i.e., the physical, that we fancy we can measure, though this is very doubtful too. In any event, we undoubtedly know that we can express neither the phenomenon of life nor psychic phenomena in the formulae of physical phenomena. Generally speaking, we have no formulae for them at all. In order to clarify the relation between phenomena of different kinds, let us examine in detail the laws of their transformation, one into another. First of all, it is necessary to consider physical phenomena and to make a detailed study of the conditions and properties of their transformation. In an essay on Wundt in the Northern Messenger, published in 1888, A. L. Volinsky elucidated the principles of Wundt's philosophical psychology, saying, "The actions of sensation are proved by the actions of irritation. However, both of these actions need not be at all equal. It is possible to burn an entire city with the spark from one single cigarette. It is necessary to understand why this is possible. Place a board upon the edge of some object scalewise, so that it will balance. On both sides of the board now put an equal amount of weight. The weights will not fall, although both of them will tend to fall, they balance one another. If we lift the least weight from one end of the board, then the other end will overbalance and the board will fall, i.e. the force of gravity which existed before as an invisible tendency will have become a visible motive force. If we place the board and weights flat upon the earth, then the force of gravity will not produce any action, but it will not be eliminated either, it will only transform itself into other forces. Those forces that are only striving to produce motion are called constrained or dead forces. The forces that are actually manifesting themselves in certain definite actions are called free or live forces. However, as regards free forces, it is necessary to differentiate those forces that are liberating and setting free from the forces that are liberated or set free. An enormous difference exists between the liberation of a force and its transformation into another. When one kind of motion transforms itself into another kind, the amount of free force remains the same, and contrariwise, when one force liberates another, then the amount of free force changes. The free force of an irritation liberates the tied-up forces of a nerve. This liberation of tied-up forces is proceeding at each point of the nerve. The first motion increases like a fire, like a snow sled, carrying along with it new and ever newer drifts. It is for this reason that the action or phenomenon of sensation need not be exactly equal to the action of the irritation. Let's look more broadly at the relation between liberated and liberating forces in the different kinds of phenomena. We discover that sometimes an almost negligible amount of physical force may liberate an enormous, even colossal amount of physical energy. But all that we can ever assemble of physical force is powerless to liberate a single iota of that vital energy necessary for the independent existence of a single microscopic living organism. The force contained in living organisms, the vital force, is capable of liberating infinitely greater amounts of vital and also of physical energy than the force of motion. A microscopic living cell is capable of infinite dissemination, to evolve new species, to cover entire continents with vegetation, to fill the oceans with seaweed, to build islands out of coral, to deposit powerful layers of coal or crude oil, and so on. Concerning the latent energy contained in the phenomena of consciousness, i.e. in thoughts, feelings and desires, we discover that its potentiality is even more immeasurable and boundless. From personal experience, from observation and from recorded history we know that ideas, feelings and desires manifesting themselves can liberate enormous quantities of energy, creating infinite series of phenomena. A simple idea can act for centuries and millennia, liberating ever-fresh energy. We know that thoughts continue to live and act when even the very name of the person who created them has been converted into a myth, like the names of the founders of ancient religions, the creators of immortal poetic works of antiquity, heroes, leaders and prophets. Their words are repeated by innumerable lips, their ideas are studied and commented upon. Their preserved works are translated, printed, read, studied, staged and illustrated across millennia. This is done not only with the masterpieces of those of genius, but some little verse may live for thousands of years, making hundreds of people work for it and serve it in order to transmit it further. Observe the potential energy is a verse composed by Pushkin or Lermontov. This energy acts not only upon the feelings of mankind, but by reason of its very existence, it acts upon their will. See how vital and immortal are the words, thoughts and feelings of half-mythical Homer, how much motion each word of his during the time of its existence has evoked. Undoubtedly each thought of a poet contains enormous potential force, like the power confined in a piece of coal or a living cell, but infinitely more subtle, imponderable and potent. This remarkable correlation of phenomena may be expressed in the following terms. The farther a given phenomena is from the visible and sensed, from the physical, the farther it is from matter, the more there is in it of hidden force and the greater the quantity of phenomena that it can produce, that it can leave in its wake, the greater amount of energy that it can liberate, and so it is less dependent upon time. If we would correlate all of the above with the principles of physics, that the amount of energy is constant, then we must state more exactly that in the preceding discourse nothing has been said of the creation of new energy, but of the liberation of latent force. We have found that the liberating force of life and thought is infinitely greater than the liberating force of mechanical motion and of chemical reactions, even atomic through either fission or fusion. A microscopic living cell is more powerful than a volcano, a simple idea is more powerful than any geological cataclysm. Having established these differences between phenomena, let's endeavor to discover what phenomena themselves represent, taken by themselves, independent of our receptivity and sensation of them. We immediately discover that we know nothing about them at all. We know a phenomenon just as much and just as far as it is irritation, i.e. to the extent that it provokes sensation. Positivistic philosophy sees mechanical motion or electromagnetic energy as the basis of all phenomena. However, the hypothesis of vibrating atoms are of units of energy, electrons and cycles of motion, combinations of which create different phenomena, is only a hypothesis, built upon an arbitrary and artificial assumption concerning the existence of the world in time and space. As soon as we discover that the conditions of time and space are merely the properties of our sensual receptivity, we absolutely destroy the hypothesis of energy as the foundation of everything. Simply because time and space are necessary for energy to exist, i.e. it is necessary for time and space to be properties of the world, and not properties of consciousness. In reality we know nothing about the causes of phenomena. We do know however that some combinations of causes, acting through the organism upon our consciousness, produce a series of sensations that we recognize as a green tree. However, we do not know if the perception of this tree corresponds to the real substance of the causes which evoked this sensation. The question concerning the relation of the phenomenon to the thing in itself, i.e. to the indwelling reality, has been from antiquity the chief and most difficult concern of philosophy. Can we, studying phenomena, get at the very cause of them, at the very substance of things? Kant has said definitely not. By studying phenomena we do not even approach the understanding of things in themselves. Recognizing the correctness of Kant's view, if we desire to approach the understanding of things in themselves, then we must seek an entirely different method. An utterly different path from that which positive science, which studies phenomena, is treading. There exist visible and hidden causes of phenomena, there exist also visible and hidden effects. Let us consider one or two examples. In all textbooks on the history of literature we are told that in its time Goethe's Werther provoked an epidemic of suicides. What exactly provoked these suicides? Imagine that some scientist appears who, being interested in the increase in suicides, begins to study the first edition of Werther according to the method of exact, positivistic science. He weighs the book, measures it by the most precise instrumentation, notes the number of its pages, makes a chemical analysis of the paper and the ink, counts the number of lines of every page, the numbers of words in every line and the number of letters. He even notes how many times the letter A is repeated, how many times the letter B, and how many times an exclamation mark is used, and so on. In other words, he does everything that the pious Jew performs with relation to the Torah and teaching of Abraham, then on the basis of this investigation writes a treatise on the relation of the letter A of the German alphabet to suicide. Or let us imagine another scientist who studies the history of painting and decides to put it on a scientific basis, beginning a lengthy series of analyses of the pigment used in the pictures of famous painters in order to discover the causes of the different impressions produced upon the beholder by different pictures. Imagine a primitive studying a pocket watch, and let's admit that he is a wise and crafty primitive. He takes this watch apart and counts all of its wheels and screws, counts the number of teeth in each gear, finds out its size and its thickness. The only thing that he does not know is what all these things are for. He does not know that the hand completes the circuit of the dial in half of 24 hours, i.e. that it is possible to tell time by the means of a watch. All of this is positivism. We are too familiar with positivistic methodologies, and so fail to realize that they end in absurdities, that if we are seeking to explain the meaning of anything, then this does not lead to the objective at all. The difficulty is that for an explanation of the meaning of things, positivism is of no use. For in nature is a closed book of which it studies the appearance only. In the matter of the study of the operations of nature, positive methods have achieved a great deal, as is proven by the innumerable successes of modern technology, including space travel, quantum physics and genetic engineering. However, everything in the world has its own definite sphere of action. Positivism is very good when it seeks an answer to the question of how something operates under given conditions. But when it makes the attempt to get outside of its definite parameters of space-time and causation, or presumes to affirm that nothing exists outside of these given conditions, then it is transcending its own proper sphere. It is true that the more positive thinkers deny the possibility of including in positive investigation the question of why and what for. But in actual fact, the positive standpoint is not the only possible one. The usual mistake of positivism consists in its not envisioning anything except itself. It either considers everything as possible to it, or considers as generally impossible much that is entirely possible, but not for positive inquiry. Humanity will never cease to search for answers to the questions of why and wherefore. The positivist scientist finds himself in the presence of nature almost in the position of a primitive in a library of rare and valuable books. For the primitive, a book is a thing of definite size and weight. However long he may ask himself what purpose this strange thing serves, he will never discover the truth from its appearance, and the contents of the book will remain for him the incomprehensible noumenon. In like manner, the contents of nature are incomprehensible to positivist science. But if a person were to know of the existence of the contents of the book, the noumenon of life, if they know that a mysterious meaning is hidden beneath the visible phenomena, then there is the possibility that in the long run they will discover the contents. For success in this, it is necessary to grasp the idea of the inner contents, i.e. the meaning of the thing itself. The scientist who discovers little tablets with hieroglyphics, or wedge-shaped inscriptions in an unknown language, deciphers and reads them after great labor. And in order to accomplish this he needs only one thing. It is necessary for him to know that these little signs represent an inscription. As long as he regards them simply as an ornament, as the outside embellishments of little tablets, or as an accidental tracing without meaning, then up to that time their meaning and significance will be closed to him. Let him however only assume the existence of that meaning, and the possibility of its comprehension will already be within sight. No secret cipher exists that cannot be solved without the aid of any key. But it is necessary to know that it is a cipher. This is the first and a necessary condition, as without this it is impossible to accomplish anything.